a look at HTML5 structural elements. These were added to HTML5. They didn't exist in previous versions of HTML. And we use these because they really help us have a lot of control over the layout of our page, the way things look on our page, where they're positioned, how they're colored, what type of text they have, etc., etc. So the first structural elements we're going to look at, and these are all added in the body of the document. Okay, so we would have, if this was HTML code, we would have an open body tag here. We would have a closed body tag down here. Okay, so the header allows us to just have like the document heading, like a title. You know, this is the main thing that a user sees when they visit your website. The navigation section is contained within a nav element, and this is going to be how the user gets from one page to another page within your website. Then you have, then you have a main area, and this main area will be the main content that you have on your page, and then you have a footer, okay? Now, divs, this wireframe, this is called a wireframe sketch. This wireframe sketch has 3 divs. You certainly do not have to have 3 divs. You don't have to have 1 div. You could have 10 divs if you wanted to. The divs right now are not doing that much to our code until we learn CSS. But having this div basically sets this part aside from the main code so that you could address whatever is inside this div specifically. So if you wanted just this div to have a red background, you could do so, and then the main could have an orange background. So it just allows us to address different elements on our page. So this is what we're going to recreate in just a moment, a website for Trillium Media Design. This is on page 49 if you want to follow along in the book. So this part here will be the header. This part will be the nav section. This part will be the body. All of this will be the body, the main content. And then down there at the bottom would be the footer. Okay? So open your Visual Studio Code, create a blank document, save in your Google Drive folder. I saved mine as TMD for Trillium Media Design.html. And go ahead and pause the video and get those basic elements in there. Okay, so like the basic things that you already know how to put in the website. And pause the video and we'll check in just a moment to see if you're right. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Double check and make sure you got all the elements in the correct order. We need to go ahead and add a title. The title is the text that appears on the browser header. So we'll have Trillium Media Design. And then click down to the body for us to begin. Okay, so remember I told you in a previous tutorial we have the head section, we have a header section, and then we have our headings. The headings are like H1, H2, H3, okay? The head section, I like to think, hey, we have a body tag. Before our body starts, our head is on top, okay? So head, body, and then we have header, okay? So let's create a header section there. And the header section in and of itself doesn't do anything, okay? So if we just have this header section and we look at our website in a browser, there's nothing there, okay? It's not really doing anything until we get to CSS. We just need to know how to do this. In the header section, let's add an H1 that says Trillium Media Design. All right, remember, check your work often in your browser. So looking at my browser, and yes, that looks exactly like the example on page 49 so far. Okay, once your header closes, then your navigation section begins. So let's open up a nav section, okay? In this particular case, we want our nav text to be bold, and since we haven't learned CSS yet, we're going to use a B tag to do that, okay? B tag bolds text, but next, in the future, we'll bold our text using CSS. Okay, so in this nav section, we want a link to home, a link to services, and a link to contacts. So we're not going to do the links in this tutorial. We'll learn those in another tutorial. But let's get the text on this page right now. So we'll do home, and we want a little extra space. So we'll do an NBSP. And then we want services and our NBSP. And then contact. And that's just going to give us a little extra space between those words. So again, if we check this in a browser, there we go. See that NBSP created that extra space there. Okay, so header section, nav section. Now let's move to the main section. And I'm going to pause the video, go ahead and type this in instead of you having to listen to me type for 10 minutes. Okay, I've went ahead and typed the main section, so you can pause the video and get this content typed in. And then when you check it in the browser, you should see something like this. Okay, so pause the video and type this section. Okay, and then our next section is the footer section. And for the footer section, we'll have small, but it's also italicized. Now, again, this italicized is something that we would normally do with CSS. We haven't learned that yet, so we're just going to include those I tags. So in between your small tags and your I tags, we'll add copyright. And let's do our special character to add the copy symbol, ampersand copy, semicolon. And then let's put 2020 because it's the best year ever, right? And then your name. On the book it says your name here, but actually type your name. So I would type, oh, and I'm getting an update. Skip this version. I would type Beth Lucas, but you would type your name, okay? Now, once you get finished with that and you load it in the browser, it should look something like this. So double check your work and make sure it looks okay.